We're here at NYU Clive Davis School in Studio 3. The main reason we're here today was to record the Supro Airwave and to run it through its paces. I met Gerry back in Dublin in 1980. We both were interning at the same studio. And he's a very understated guitar player, and that's what I love. But when he sits and works on parts, very quickly you hear him compose and orchestrate guitar parts that just seem perfect for each piece of music that he works on. And he has that funny hair color, so. Yeah. Put them in the proper orientation, so just get them in.
Yeah.
My name's Gerry Leonard. I'm a guitar player here in New York, and we were here today in the studio trying out the new amp from Supro, the Airwave, and it's got cab sim technology in it, and so we were able to do a lot using the amp, but instead of miking the cabinet, we were just taking an XLR out and getting the tones that way.
Traditionally, when you're setting up with guitar players in the studio, you're going to try a lot of different amps, and that just takes time. A lot of time setting up the amps, setting up all the microphones, getting all the balances. And in this instance, we were able to step through with the Airwave very quickly through a series of different models and a series of different iterations and cabinets and microphone configurations just by turning a dial.
So I wanted to have something kind of straightforward that would sit underneath the more melodic parts that we were going to do later. And I wanted to get something, with a little bit of crunch to it, but just a good, healthy guitar tone. So the nice thing was that once I kind of dialed in a tone on the amp, I was able to use the exact same cabinet simulation to send to Kevin. When I switched the speaker onto mute, we still had the same tone on a direct on the XLR, which meant that I could be in the room and play with the guys, but not have the guitar bleed onto the drums, which gave us a lot of separation. It was really great. Yeah, I like this one. It's Supro. So once we got the basic track, and which is sounding really good, I wanted to do the kind of riff. So I was using this particular fuzz box, and it just has a kind of a really kind of spitty sound. So I wanted to go back to using that in front of the amp. The thing about fuzz boxes I find is that it's really good to keep the chain really simple. So we just went right from the guitar into the fuzz box into the amp. And then with the amp, we backed off from the sound that we used for tracking, where we were using more of the crunch of the amp. This time I wanted the amp to be a little bit more open sounding, so we could just kind of showcase the fuzz tone. We used a 1x12, I believe, and just cleaned it up a little bit, so I didn't use the boost and then the fuzz box. And then we decided to just double track that just to give it a little bit more of a vibe. And so I switched guitars. I switched over to a Les Paul, and we switched to a different amp that had a slightly different characteristic, a little bit more of a compressed mid-range forward tone, and we did the double track with that. This one is nice.
Yeah. Both Gerry and I, we love kind of layered elements within the production. And one of the things that we're always trying to articulate is the idea of the sense of dimension, like that front to rear dimension thing. As we were going through the presets and we realized there were some additional ambiances that were available, I hit on that cathedral one, and I thought, and it looked like it was like Notre Dame or one, like a large cathedral or something of that nature. And I was just listening to the tail of it, and I thought for that ambient part, that would actually be a really cool kind of aspect, and it would provide a little bit extra detail for that kind of ocean sound, that ambient kind of wave. Where we were working on the slide part, it felt like, we really liked the tone of the P90s. We just felt like with the aggregation of all the guitars, it was getting a little mid-rangey. So I thought the smaller cabinet with the additional kind of thickness added in made it sit specifically in the track. So that gave it just kind of the perfect kind of balance it needed to kind of sit in with all the other guitars. We only just barely touched the surface of what the Airwave is capable of doing.